And welcome back to JKLive. You can see we're chatting throughout the commercial. That's because I've got Uasin Gishu Women Rep, Gladys the Boss Shollei. In the middle, I've got Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi. And right here next to me is nominated Member of Parliament Jennifer Shamalla, a.k.a. Diana Ross. But that's a story for another day. You know, you guys are incredible. I mean, you're so full of energy, huh? And you bring out the energy in me. So let's start. Let's continue our conversation. We've finished that part before the break. Let me ask you this. As nominated Member of Parliament, people say you have the easiest job. You don't have funerals, you don't have fundraisings, no harambes. You have no real role, but you sit nicely in Nairobi enjoying your life.
You know, as I was coming, I saw a tweet. You know, Twitter's full of also haters and people who are negative.
Absolutely.
And who hide behind a persona where you can't see them. And they said, "What? She's not a politician. She's riding on the name of her father." Oh. That's what he said. Well, first of all, I thank Yahweh Elohim, the one I pray to, that I am honored to carry that name of Japhet Galagati Shamalla. And don't belittle small beginnings of nominated MPs. I have run, I have lost, I get involved in issues, but like I said, the biggest issues are the issues to do with legislation and making sure that we oversight. We legislate and we oversight. I have helped people. I told you I have stopped counting at 700,000 shillings because I was getting depressed. And what I donate to is not, you have all kinds of requests, you know, school fees, this, that. It's mainly things that are really like death, okay? Or really if you know about school fees, or really somebody got a scholarship to go and study and they don't have a ticket, and I can attest to that. And so you cannot say that nominated. Remember that we have a sitting president today who was first nominated into Parliament.
That's right.
He was
but
nominated.
Do you have a budget?
No, I don't have a budget. So I do this from my salary. I do this from my salary. I have a list.
Yes,
I have evidence. I stopped counting at 700,000 shillings.
Madam Speaker,
yes.
Speaking of salaries, you haven't had one for close to a year.
Yes.
For close to a year. Yes. And yet the High Court reinstated you after you had been impeached by your MCAs.
And I really want to thank Judge Maureen. I've never met her, but I think it's good always to thank those who think when they're in court. I mean, this is a judge that today, if I'm asked by Maraga, I'll tell him you have good people in your courts. It's only that they're very quiet, but when they give a ruling, fantastic rulings based on merit.
So why would
not
you go?
Based on knowing who is Elachi. I never even went to court, by the way. I just went once and I left it to my lawyer.
So why don't you walk back into your office?
Well,
you're entitled to it.
Walking back to Nairobi County. You want to see drama? Jeff? You want to see drama? One thing I do, I think it's good also to show different leadership, that you must respect the courts. They've taken me now, I'm in the Court of Appeal. By the way, they went to the Court of Appeal to now ask, I don't know for what, but we will see how it moves. But the most important thing is that, one, let us respect the law. And I think I have done that. I just want to thank my president, because if it's not of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, this girl of the village would not be here today shining with Jeff.
Hello.
Oh, yes. So I always say I have a president who believes in women, who supports women, and that's the thing that I stand with him regardless of anything. And I have no regrets or no.
By the way,
say the other word.
Kirago says a big hello to all of you. He says you are all looking great. Kirago, you know who you are and where you are.
Oh, thank you, Kirago.
Thank you so much, Kirago. I know Nelson is watching from the AU. So
okay.
So he says also hello.
Gladys Boss Shollei.
Yes.
They dragged your name through the mud. The mud. And you came out of that sewer smelling like roses. How did you do it? Because there are lots of young ladies watching you right now. And anyone else, or most people, would never have survived what you went through. Let's face it.
Yes.
And I'm not blowing smoke up your skirts.
No, true.
How did you do it?
First, by the grace of God and a very strong family around me and support system. But yes, they almost break you down. But at some point I looked at them and I said, you're not going to define who I am. I am going to define who I am. And I'm going to tell my own story. Because, Jeff, there were many people who said to me, just let it go.
Yeah.
Don't speak up.
Yeah. Walk away.
Walk away. But you know what would have happened? What would be the story now you'd be saying? And she was chief registrar and she was said to be corrupt and we don't know where she is now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I also thank just all the media houses that covered me, even negatively, because you see, they kept my story alive. And it went on, and I was able to tell it. And every time I told it, then I was able to basically talk back to my enemies and say, you're not going to define me. Today, nobody remembers who Willie Mutunga is. Hello? Do you even know where he is?
No, true.
Willie who?
True.
Yes, exactly.
Mutunga?
So, you know, the thing is, I always tell people, you know what? Don't joke with the grace of God.
Of course.
Because they all thought they had destroyed me and I was out.
Yes.
But I also thank the people of Gishu County, because when I went back home, they said they did that to you, they threw you out like a dog, we are so taking you back. And all of them, even the simplest woman in the village, said, we actually know that you were telling the truth and they were lying.
Okay, so let me ask you all, and you can answer individually. How tough is it being a woman in a male-dominated society? Let's start with you, Jennifer.
It's, you know, it depends. And I had this question asked to me just last week at a workshop. And it depends in which sphere. In a family sphere, and it was very interesting because at this workshop we had members of parliament from Ethiopia, women members of parliament, and women leaders from Kenya. And the majority of them, especially in Ethiopia, said that it was their fathers who were encouraging them to study, and the mothers were saying, you're not the role models, you have to get married when you're very young. Okay, what is this education? So in a family sphere where you have strong fathers and strong families, yes, it's not tough, where they encourage you. I'm a product of a father who encouraged me to get educated. So in a family sphere, it's not tough because you have, I want the girls to be like the boys and there's nothing different. And at university, it's not tough because I assume at that time that people think you're just studying. It's almost like finishing school so that you can go and you can get married. It becomes tough in the workplace. And in the workplace, and I'm not talking about the political workspace, but in a workspace of where women will, as they're slightly older, getting, in their 20s, 30s, sexual abuse and harassment, okay? You will face things like that, and that is a reality. And that sexual harassment does not need to be overt. It can be words, it can be looks, it can be snide remarks, etc. So that still exists in what is a very patriarchal society. And then when in Parliament, I feel, and I thank the trailblazers who went before us because I know what they had to go through. But now with the 47 women reps, the other nominated ones, the elected ones, it's very much a school atmosphere, a fun atmosphere. But
okay, hold on.
Yes.
In the county government, Madam Speaker,
yes.
It was women who were mostly against you. Women shouting out, resign or whatever it is. Why?
Well, don't blame the women. I think it's because of the patriarchal, the masculine that is in the county assemblies. And you find that one of the things that we need to do, and I would wish Senate would do that instead of having all these hubabaloos they're having, is that we go back and look at the county assemblies. County assemblies have one way of the male deciding that since we are the men, we are the only ones elected. We take all the chairmanships. We are the majority leader. You are the minority leader, and therefore you take charge. Then, by the time I was entering in, it's not like Parliament. Parliament, you will never find a chairman or the majority leader dealing with issues of trips, of where you're supposed to go benchmarking. It is the speaker. Now, in the county assemblies, they decided to use it as a carrot. That the majority leader and the minority leader sit down and decide you will travel to Dubai, next one will travel to London.
And Speaker has to sign off.
Well, Speaker has to sign off or else you're impeached.
Yes.
So, and at that time, everyone is just shaking. Even in the committees, while we know very well political parties are supposed to decide how members join their committees, in the county assemblies, I think we've decided, let them just run their own ways of rules and regulations. They will change their standing orders in the morning.
Madam Speaker, that's chaos. That's chaos.
Absolutely chaos. For Nairobi is the most chaotic that I have never seen. That even my own clerk was a secondment from Parliament, decided when they were in elections, we had no county assembly, decided to resign. He never came back on a board which they don't have. Jeff, we don't have a board. County Assembly board, they don't have. They have two people who run the board. The majority leader, the minority leader. Decides how money is covered. It's crazy. The staff is left, yet the law is so clear that one, we must have two members from the public so that they can deal with the staff, so that you don't politicize the process. But now, Nairobi County runs with two members on the board, a clerk who has never been approved, who never went to the recruitment, who resigned, who was a secondment of Parliament, now is just, you know, and when you ask those questions, you're thrown out.
Impeached.
Because you want to have process, you want to follow the law. Nobody wants to follow the law.
Boss, what about as women rep?
Yes.
The sexual harassment, like Jennifer mentioned, I mean, how difficult is it out there?
I think I was lucky that I grew up the way I grew up. But growing up, my father told me I was the tallest, the most beautiful, and the cleverest, even when I was not. So that built my self-esteem. So I always have very good self-esteem, which sort of protects me. I remember, and my experience in the public service, I remember joining the public service at a very young age. And once I walked into a meeting, and people said, "Karibu Mrembo." And I remember I stood up and I said, "My name is not Mrembo. When you figure out my name, you can invite me to your meeting." And I left.
Absolutely.
And what happened is many people thought I was rude.
Right.
But do you know, it changed the way I was treated. Because calling you Mrembo is patronizing, it is condescending, and telling you you're not my equal, you're just a Mrembo. But do you know what happened after that? Every time I walked into that meeting, someone stood up and gave me a seat.
Wow.
Can you imagine, Jeff?
Wow.
In the county assembly, I'm seated as the speaker. I won't say now who, but the leadership walks in, whistle. Wewe mwanamuke. I'm like, what? Where are we? You know, you get a shock.
Yes, yes.
Are we in an institution of government that has rules and regulations? So you can imagine if they can do that. What about the women who are nominated? They will be told, go and drink, go and abuse. So for me, in fact, I moved on. And I thank God God just gave me some grace, and I just said, you know what, use your mind and move. These are guys who are just about to kill your career. You're just about to go down, first of all, with stress. Then you'll have some funny sickness of blood pressure and what. I just said, no.
Madam Speaker, let me ask you real quick before we go to break. If the Court of Appeal rules in your favor,
yes,
will you go back?
I want to be honest today. I think there are some jobs that you look at and ask, do you really want to do change? Because you go somewhere to do change and leave a legacy that anyone who will walk in will find a legacy. And until both the political party, my party leader, and the party leader of NASA or ODM sits down and relook at the whole composition of the leadership, we can never change. We will have county assembly members, they cry, they try and go and try and do things. Today they have, I understand they've even suspended one of the members for you can suspend somebody who has a loan for 3 months. What kind of a people we are? You find a clerk who does not, regardless of what, have a heart. Because sometimes I say we are human. And you must have a heart on how you treat, because you have a privilege to be the accounting officer, which is not even the right way, but you can come in and ensure you throw out others. You dismiss others just because they are not with you. And you know the mistake I did? One, just to allow the DCI to walk into our institution and relook at our institution and just help us to know, are we on the right track or not? And if he comes in and gives you a letter, are you supposed to chase him? I was told they have the Powers and Privileges Act that no DCI is allowed to step in the County Assembly of Nairobi.
What?
So that, yes. Have you seen that I have changed? Do you see whether I have done plastic surgery? That's what they say.
They said yes.
They even told me I used the CIC insurance to do that plastic surgery. I never did plastic surgery.
No Botox?
I have never used the CIC insurance yet. I even see guys, as they say, haters.
Yeah, haters.
When we were doing Tetema.
Yes.
And they said, look at Elachi. She used public resources. Now her back is good. I want to say, I have never. God help me. I have never used it.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to go deeper into that.
Yes.
But when we come back from the break, I want to talk about, we have to talk about Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke.
No, Inua Mama and Embrace.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, that's the latest one, Inua Mama and Embrace.
Oh yeah.
But some of you are in Tanga Tanga, I know.
We'll talk about it.
Who is in Tanga?
And some Kielewekes.
I'm not in
somewhere in
Kieleweke,
between.
but I'll tell you why
I've never been in between.
We'll talk
come
about
back and
it.
we'll talk about it.
Oh yes, we have to talk about it.
So you want to take the break for me?
Oh
Yes.
yes.
All right, there's a
Let's
camera
take a
there.
break.
All right.
Come back and deal with this Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke.
Say Jeff Konange Live will be back.
Jeff Konange Live will be back
In a moment.
in a moment.